All right. We are here today with a guest. I always love when I have women who have done so many different things and they all blend together. I think we have a special superpower as women to do that. We have with us Dr. Kela. She is a board certified physician and an award winning author. She recently had a sabbatical. And what we're going to talk about today is what she discovered, what she allowed herself to discover while on that sabbatical. So, welcome.
Thank you, Jillian. I'm really happy to be here.
We're excited to have you. And I love when we were kind of doing our prep work, we talked about choosing yourself and how that's not selfish. Kind of walk us through what your journey was with that.
Yes, I am a family practice physician, and I've been in practice for 21 years. And like most young ladies, I think in America, growing up, I got the message, okay, sweetie, go to school, get a great career, and of course, be a law abiding citizen and someone the family can be proud of. And I did all of that, right? My dad would tell me all the time, Sugar, I walk around with my chest poked out every day. I'm proud of my girls. But over time, yes, over time, I guess I got a little bit disillusioned. I think most of us who go into medicine want to help people. I know that I did, as cliche as that sounds. And I felt like I was doing that. But the medical paradigm in America has really kind of shifted. And it's almost like we end up having to treat our patients like herds of cattle that we bring in to the office. And even us as doctors, we've begun to be treated like just kind of cogs in this corporate wheel. And more pressure was put on us. And over time, I started to lose some of the joy that I first had when I was a young doctor starting out in medicine. And I was just getting worn down, to be perfectly honest. And I got burned out. It's a real thing. And I just had to take a step back. I had to choose me. And as women, we are told that choosing ourselves is selfish, but actually, it's not. When you think about Mother Nature, what's the first rule? It's self preservation is the first rule of nature. And I want to tell a little story here. My sister used to work in management at a spa company. There was actually a franchise where we're from here in Georgia. And she said she noticed a huge difference between the women clients and the male clients. So let's say there was a busy mom who had received a gift certificate for the spa package, the manicure, pedicure, facial, massage. It was like a 4-hour package. And she said, I could tell sometimes, just that few hours, the women felt guilty about spending that time on themselves. However, men who were clients at the spa, these corporate guys would come in, put the robes on. Their confidence and attitude was completely different. It was like, yeah, where's my massage? Where's my pedicure? They felt entitled to it because they had been working hard and doing all of the things that society says a man is supposed to do. And it's like, so why was there that difference? Women are also working really hard. And even if they're not a career woman who works outside the home, being a stay at home wife and mom is a lot of work. When you think about all the things that women do as wives and mothers, you break it down. They are chefs, they are house managers, they are chauffeurs for the kids, they are the middlemen between perhaps their husbands and the in laws, they are therapists, they are the scheduler and person who manages the time for everyone in the family. Women do quite a lot. And so, yes, they should have that time to renew and refresh. I would say to my patients a lot who would come in and often complain of being very overwhelmed and tired, which sometimes can be a symptom of depression. I would say, well, even God took a day off, took the Sabbath off. That's God. We're just mere humans. We need to take a break to renew ourselves. And sometimes that break isn't just one day a week or one spa day for a birthday gift or an anniversary gift. Sometimes it ends up being a sabbatical, like what I'm doing right now. I needed to take a big step back. And I didn't realize until I did it how tired I was. So, no, ladies, it is not selfish to take that time to take care of yourself. Because when we do that, we can actually be better for the people in our lives. But that needs to start with being better and taking great care of ourselves first.
Jump in right there because the first thing I know I'm thinking, and I feel like our listeners may as well, how do you walk yourself through that? So you're driving home from work and you're having these thoughts, day after day, I'm kind of burned out. You're looking at yourself in the bathroom mirror and you're like, I just can't do this anymore. How do you get from that place to where you are now, where you've given yourself permission to have a sabbatical?
It was a gradual process for me, and part of it was family members kind of sounding the alarm. I would say it started with just some general discontent. I noticed myself complaining about work when I wasn't at work. The next step in the progression was on Sundays, kind of dreading going to work on Mondays. And it wasn't like that in the beginning of my career. And then, unfortunately, during COVID, my mom suffered a stroke. So I did take some time off from work to go home and help out with my mom. And once I did return to work, still every weekend I was driving to my hometown, which is about 2 hours away from me, every single weekend. And my mom started saying, baby, you're doing too much. Maybe you should come every other weekend. My mom's two brothers, my uncles, essentially called a family meeting with me. And it was like, look, niece, this is too much for you. Why don't you slow it down to every other weekend? And then mom said, well, baby, just come once a month because she does have family there, but it's all men. My mother's two older sisters have passed on. So, it's a little bit different having your husband who's 90 years old and, your son have to help you because my mom is dependent as a result of this stroke. She can't walk independently anymore. She can't drive anymore. And so it's just different. I mean, I've hired someone, a lady who comes in and helps out, but she doesn't spend the night. That lady has her own family. So again, my brother's there to help her during the evenings and what have you. And then my sister was also instrumental in this. She said at one time during a conversation, she said, sis, listen, mom and her stepfather are getting up in age. And the reality is, she said, emotionally, I am kind of prepared or I'm preparing for the day when they transition. But she says, I'm not ready for that to happen to you. I don't want to live in this world without my sister. And I took that to heart. That struck me. So that helped me to pull the trigger.
So, how do you kind of balance what I would say is professional guilt, kind of looking at your life and the years that you'd spent in academia, getting to your position, and then your peers, and all the pressure I hear from those I know that are in the medical field. How do you balance without? I would be worried that they would be talking about me behind my back or saying something like that. How did you kind of professionally go through that journey?
Well, first and foremost, I had good relationships with my patients. And so maybe it's weird to say this. I didn't worry about that because, again, this was about my self preservation. Now, outside of my work as a physician in the clinic, I am a fierce advocate for teenage girls. And so outside of the office, I've done speaking engagements and I wrote a book for teen girls. It's called Nia and the Numbers Game, A Teenager's Guide to Education, Relationships, and Sex. And so I have a social media presence. And my patients have reached out to me on social media. Hey, doc, when are you, coming back to practice? I miss you. For some who didn't realize that I had left the practice, they had showed up. And when they found out I was gone, then they found me on social media. Hey, doc, where are you? I miss you. I had one patient, it really touched my heart, who said she shed tears when she found out that I wasn't there. She had moved away for a bit, and then I think moved back to the area and was expecting to see me for a physical, and I wasn't there. So my patients are like, "Look, you let us know," and I'm grateful that we have social media as a way to be able to announce when I return to practice. So I really wasn't concerned that they would be upset with me or feel like I was abandoning them. And so, like I said, that wasn't really the concern. And as far as my colleagues go, they get it. I'm not the only physician who has gone through this. And even doctors who maybe haven't stepped away for a sabbatical yet, they understand. So again, I wasn't worried about that either. I was really more so worried about me, and especially when my sister made it clear that she was concerned about me, and that let me know. My sister knows me, I think, better than almost anyone. So if she could see it before I did, I had to take that seriously.
Think about the love, the level of love it took for her to have that conversation with you because she's risking how you're going to receive it, how you're going to take it. And so I love when I hear stories of sister, whether it's a blood sister or just a best friend sister, when a sister comes in and gives you that tough love and tells you what you need to hear. I think the saying is something like you can't see the photo if you're in the frame. You know, you often can't see what's going on because you're just so in it,
Yes.
and you need someone to be brave and vulnerable and come to you and say, "Hey, girl, here's what's going on." So I had to just pause and give a prop to your sister and encourage any other sister out there who sees if you see something, say something because it really can be not the extreme of life or death, but can definitely be a pivotal comment, a pivotal conversation in someone's life. So when you decided to do the sabbatical, did you come to the decision that you are, and then did you go, "Okay, and I'm going to do this, and I'm gonna accomplish this," or did you just say, "I'm gonna take it as it comes?"
It was the latter. I knew, for example, obviously, I was going to spend some time with my mom. And interestingly enough, the mother child relationship, I think for most of us, we spend our entire existence just viewing her as mom. But the reality is, she has an entire story as a woman. She was a kid once, she was my age once, and I've gotten to know her better. I've never knew what my mom wanted to be when she grew up. You know, what were her dreams and goals as a little girl? I've asked her about the best advice she's ever gotten, if she has any regrets at this stage in her life. So I've gotten to know mom better during this time off than I had previously because I think I was just focusing certainly on managing her medical care and making sure I had power of attorney and all of this after the stroke. But prior to that, just being a good daughter, right? And just having that mother-daughter relationship. But now I've gotten to know her better as just as a woman, and I don't of course, she's my mom, but I've learned a lot more about mom during this time off. Also, I've taken some time to travel. I'm just coming back from Thailand, and one of my goals prior to my sabbatical was to travel to all 7 continents. And back in 2020, I wanted to go to Asia and specifically to Thailand. And so we all know what happened in 2020, and I had to
Yeah.
postpone it. And so I got to go, and I just got back a few days ago, and that was a great trip. Also during this time, I, of course, wanted to do more for my advocacy for teen girls. So I've had a speaking engagement, and I also developed a product, this T-shirt. You know, everything is possible. And it's just to give young ladies an idea of what all you can be, you know? And because as we mentioned in the beginning of this podcast, right, we're given this messaging and this propaganda as girls, we're selfish, and as women that we're selfish if we take time for ourselves. But no, I think sometimes the system is selfish for telling girls and women that, well, no, you shouldn't necessarily live up to your potential or you shouldn't chase your dreams, but that's okay for, for guys to do. No, it's okay for both of us. You know, what fulfills you? And advocating for teen girls, I have a soft spot for them. That is something that's fulfilling to me. Just like being a physician was fulfilling until things took a turn and I got burned out.
And I can't say enough how much of a role model and example you are to recognize with the help of those around you, but to ultimately recognize it in yourself. And then to do the hard thing, take action, actually do it. Like actually take,
Yes.
okay, now that I know this information, I've accepted it. It's washed over me. I'm there now doing the work of it. And so that I love that you share that story. And I do want to kind of talk more about what you do with your youth advocacy. Kind of what does your organization do? How can folks connect with you or volunteer with you or just kind of partner?
So every Thursday, On my social media, my Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook, I have a message. Typically, I talk about a topic that's relevant to teen girls and their parents. Over the past year or so, I've really been focusing a lot on mental health. Social media, it's like six in one hand, half a dozen on the other. It can be something positive for our young people, but it also can be a negative. And so that's something I also address not only in my book, but I address on my Let's Talk Thursdays. Every Thursday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. And so that's something that I continue to do. And now that I'm getting back from this trip, I am going to do a series about my trip to Thailand, even though it's not necessarily directed at teenagers and their parents. In the past, I've talked about my travels because, again, it may inspire some young lady to think, you know what, I can fly to another part of the world, and experience another culture and what have you. I mean, the United States is a big country and we have different climates, we have different accents, even little subcultures and whatnot, but we're not the center of the universe. There's all these other places out here. And while I was in Thailand, I feel like I've met and made some new friends from different parts of the world. The driver was just like the coolest guy. He had taught himself English. His name was Mr. Dang, and he was just the best driver. And he was like, you'll, for example, the initial charge to my roommate and me to be driven back to the airport was 500 baht, it's their currency, which isn't, a whole lot. So 250 a piece. He was like, you split it. And so we get there and I get ready to pay him the 250 baht, folds it back up, get get you something to eat. Money come, money go, but hard to find good friend. You on the Facebook, eh? And I was like, yes. So I'm now Facebook friends with Mr. Dang. But he was just the coolest guy and so kind. And I mean, it's not that he wasn't paid at all for driving us around because in Thailand they drive on the other side of the road and I was not going to take a chance on renting a vehicle or one of those little motorcycles and possibly getting a crash. So he was just wonderful. And so he's like, sometimes I write in Thai, other times I write in English, but you can translate. Okay. So I tell you, Jillian, if I ever go back to Thailand, I'm looking up Mr. Dang to be my driver, and that was unexpected, but it was just great. I think he appreciated the fact that I was respectful of him, his time, and his culture. So, yes. And that 250 baht, by the way, came in handy because the Thai climate is super hot and humid. It can get hot and humid in Georgia during the summer, but multiply that by like a factor of 10 for Thailand. And so, yes, I used it to buy some rum raisin ice cream to cool me down at the airport. So it came in handy.
Things kind of come full circle like that. There's a kindness then kind of builds on another kindness. I love that. And when hearing you kind of speak about your international travels, how did you pick Thailand? What was the journey you did in yourself to come to that decision?
2 things. One of them was very simple. I like Thai food, and so I was curious. I've eaten it here, obviously, in the States, and I'm like, "Well, I wonder what authentic Thai food tastes like in the country." And then one of my friends and her husband honeymooned there several years ago, and she just raved about it, the both of them raved about how friendly the people were and the food, and I'm one of those people, of course, who loves self-care, and so the massage culture is well known there. So I definitely took advantage of that, getting a few massages and other spa services. So that's why.
Genuine that is to you as a human. You like Thai food and you like self care
Yes.
versus, just, "Oh, I wanted to see this ancient artifact building there, or I wanted to, walk this road that another author whose book I read walked that road." Like it was truly a personal journey for you. I love that now, where else do you have, like, what else is on your list, like, places to go?
So next on my list will be South America, perhaps Colombia, or Brazil, but South America is next on my list. And during this Thailand trip, I met several people from Australia. I noticed there were quite a few people from the UK, Australia, Germany who were there, Sweden. I met a couple of people from Sweden. And so a few places, yeah, I think I was probably the only American there. So again, this is great. And after South America, Australia will be next, and then last will be Antarctica.
Okay, why Antarctica? Now I'm like on the edge of my
Well,
seat.
because it's like I said on my bucket travel list, I want to go to all 7 continents.
Okay.
So Antarctica will be last. It's very cold. It's the least, I think, populated of all of the continents. And I've got people in the other places. I don't know anyone from Antarctica, so that's why
I was just
it's
sitting here, I
nice
was
on
like,
the
what food do they have there? What massage culture do they have? Like, I was waiting to just, like,
I
have
don't
my
know yet. I don't know yet. I'll do that research when it's time for the trip. But yeah, that's why it's number 7 because I've been to the other continents at this point.
and now I wanna go back, you mentioned your book. Kinda give us a little overview. What could a reader expect to discover in your book?
So the book is targeted for primarily that 13 to 17-year-old age group, specifically for teen girls. Although on one of the reviews, I was told, listen, although this is for girls, I think teenage boys would benefit from reading this as well. So the inspiration for my book came from some of my patients. And I noticed sometimes when mothers would bring their daughters in to see me, it was after she discovered that her daughter had lost her virginity. And the mother would be upset, of course. Dr. Henry, I want you to check her for pregnancy and, STIs. And after some further questioning, what I realized is that prior to the young lady losing her virginity, there really hadn't been much conversation around it other than maybe don't do it, keep your
Yeah.
skirt down and your legs closed. Which, to be perfectly honest, the desire for intimacy is a normal human drive. And so we have to anticipate that when kids hit their adolescent years, and we need to manage that. And so I wrote the book for that purpose. I noticed a lot of parents, including my mother, were very uncomfortable having the birds and the bees talk with their daughters. But the conversation needs to be had. Research shows that teenagers actually prefer their parents to give them this information. And so, as parents, you needed a guide for this. So, for example, the way my book is set up, it's fiction, but it's also factual as well. So, the title character, Nia, I follow her from middle school all the way up into adulthood. So, she goes from middle school, high school, college, medical school, and into young adulthood with a family of her own. And I address all of the things that teenage girls will face. So, in the first chapter, Nia's in middle school and her menstrual cycle comes on while she's at school. And so at the end of that chapter, it's called Let's Talk. Hence, like the name Let's Talk Thursdays. And my Dr. Kela logo is there, and I have an explanation about the menstrual cycle and a little quiz. And it's like that throughout the book. I end most chapters with like a summary of what went on, and then let's discuss. So I address social media. I address getting into college. And for example, what happens with friendships when maybe you're going to different colleges or you're growing apart? What happens when you have a boyfriend? He likes you, you like him. He wants to push the relationship to the next level. It feels good with a little kissy face, but you're not so sure about, taking things further. How do girls deal with that tension? And I think it helps parents and there's a scene in there that I wrote between Nia and her mom. And I don't know if because my mom read the book. I don't know if mom realizes that's kind of the conversation I wish she had had with me. But luckily, I had a father who was way ahead of his time for men from his generation. So mom kind of dropped the ball on this one, but my dad picked that ball up and ran it in for the touchdown. He had a very realistic conversation about the birds and the bees with me and my sister. So I was prepared. Well, we both were, but I realized not everybody has a dad like mine. I say all the time, my dad was the Muhammad Ali of fathers. He was the greatest. And so this book is that guide. This book is that guide. And I'm very proud of the fact that quite a few people have said, you know what, Dr. Keela, I wished I had had a book like this when I was growing up. Thank you.
And that you bring that up, that's a series where we're kind of brainstorming around and trying to put together to bring to the podcast because we've only ever had women on. And I've had a lot of men just in my life, like husbands of my friends or, kind of thing, kind of elbow me in the quiet shadow and go, "Hey, how do I be a girl dad? What do I need to do? I don't know how to be a girl dad. I can't do hair. I don't want to sit and do nails." And I've heard it so many times now that I'm like, wow, these guys are out there just wanting to do something, wanting to participate, wanting to be the Muhammad Ali dad, but they just don't know what to do. And so I love that you give that example that he just stepped right up and just talked to y'all and just got real with it. I love
That's
that.
great. That's great, and, of course, as a woman, I'm not thinking about this, that the men are asking, like, "Hey, can I how do I do this? I want to be a good dad." Again, I guess I was just really fortunate that my dad just did it. He was a natural with us, and even a lot of my female cousins, for them, my dad was their favorite uncle. He just had a way. He was a great family man.
Yeah, I think it's so important. We talk about women and how we can help each other, and I love those conversations. But I like the idea of, and you brought it up so well, like how men can help women on their journey, can help girls as they're developing on their journey to be the best version of themselves. And I love that you kind of bring that up. So where is your book available if someone's like, I need that book right now? Where can I get it?
They can come to my website, drkela.com, or you can put my full name in there, drkelahenry.com. It's also available on Amazon. However, if you want a signed copy, then get it from my website.
I love that, and we'll put that in the show notes as well, and then tell us one more time about Thursday, the Talk With Me Thursday, and how can folks partner with you and join that?
Sure. It's Let's Talk Thursdays, and all of my social media is Dr. Keela. So Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. My YouTube channel has really been growing exponentially this year. So I think quite a few folks have found me there and are tuning in to my talks every Thursday. And it's 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Let's Talk Thursdays with Dr. Keela.
We've talked about international travel. We've talked about sabbatical, the evolution of relationships with your parents. And I think that's something I'm kind of going through, but I'm just going to be real. I'm so used to being the center of attention when I go to their house that I forget to ask them about them, because
Right.
that's just kind of how it's been. And so I'm trying to become more mindful to learn and ask the questions that you did with your mom. So, but with all of this that we've kind of talked, I'm curious and almost like on the edge of my seat. Where do you see yourself a year from now? Or do you even know?
I see myself back in practice, but in a way that's not going to burn me out. I think with a more balanced approach. So I'll still be seeing my patients, but also feeding my soul with the work for teen girls.
This. I love the mission that you're on. I love the honesty and vulnerability you had with yourself to do this and then to share it with others. It's just been such a joy to chat with you today and learn more about this and just that you can travel just because you like the food somewhere. Like that's enough. That's enough. Like I love pasta and cheese. So I feel like Italy is like calling my name now. Like I want to go just 'cause I want to eat. Like, I wanna do that. Well, I loved having you on today. Do you have anything you wanna leave our audience with if they had one takeaway from our chat today?
I would say to remember it is not selfish to put yourself first. It's actually the first law of nature. And by taking care of yourself, you can then be your best self.
I love that. And so here we have it from the doctor, y'all. It is doctor's our digital prescription for you to give yourself permission. I love this. Well, it has been wonderful to chat with you today. We'll make sure and put all these links in the show notes for everyone so they can connect with you again on socials.
Thank you, Jillian, for having me.